What keeps you up at night? Not so much with dread, but more with purpose. I asked Chris Dowdy from Forwards Forward that question when we met up at Slow and Steady Coffee in Oak Cliff. This is the Mighty Good Podcast, a series of quick conversations with changemakers who are making our world a better place. I'm Rob Shearer. All right, Chris, so what keeps you up at night? Not so much with worry, but with a sense of purpose.
What keeps me up at night? The day job keeps me up at night, you know? Because a lot of the work we do in the organization I'm with Forwards Forward and other people that I love and admire and sort of work alongside other spaces, like it's meant to do the good stuff, you know? But the worry that I always have, like, is are we solving the right problem? You know? And so that's what keeps me up. Like, are we really getting at the root of what the most serious things are? Are we that people are facing? Like, are we doing it in a way that defeats the stratification and separation that they normally experience? Or are we like secretly producing it in some way? You know, and so that's it. Just light stuff like that. That's what I.
Well, it's interesting because I saw a conversation on Reform Dallas probably a week or two ago. It's this notorious Facebook group.
Yeah, I'm familiar.
And they were talking about some of the work that you guys are involved in. They were kind of talking about the gentrification that's happening, or they called it gentrification.
Sure.
And somebody came on there and said, "Oh no, but the people that are involved with this, it's St. Philip's, it's Forwards Forward, like it's the right owners that are leading this."
Sure.
But I would think that there could be a world where all that investment does lead to displacement or kind of other unintended consequences for folks in the neighborhood.
That is like part of the DNA of the organization that I'm in. How we approach planning with those partners is in fact trying to tackle the problem of neighborhood change, neighborhood transformation without displacement, and with cultural responsiveness, and like with actual like base building and community building that goes not just sort of adjacent to it to endorse the existing plans or ideas that are really big somewhere else, but to actually generate those ideas and hopes and aspirations and catalyze those insights from the neighborhood itself. So bringing this thing back to life, like the theater itself, you know, we think about this incredible like cultural reservoir. It's been a beating heart of this neighborhood literally for generations. And the reason people couldn't keep it open wasn't because like they didn't have great ideas or because like they didn't really want to invest in it or that they didn't go over, like all those things were true, you know? It's that the infrastructure is so like the price tag is so high to get in there and make sure you can flush the toilets properly that it's a barrier to getting any sort of big significant project done. So to assemble the sort of like organized kind of capital and other resources you need to get that stuff done, like there have to be people who are thinking and partnering with folks who have access to that kind of capital, those kinds of resources, and who are really truly accountable to the neighborhood. And neither one of those, I think, you need to get right all the time, but just sort of announce like that's the point of what you're doing. You set a standard for accountability that I know I learn from all the time from the folks I work with, and they're like, I just send a lot of emails, you know, but like they really are truly like in the community all the time, like in the school all the time, like at all the community meetings in people's homes, like really trying to understand and work alongside folks and in solidarity and folks who've come from that neighborhood. You know? So, I mean, I'm absolutely sympathetic to those concerns that folks have, and I think that that's sort of why we exist. You know, is to and again at Forwards Forward is to address and to counteract that reality and give another real viable option to rebuild a neighborhood.
Yeah, a developer could have come in and bought that and turned it into an entertainment venue, and that would have been a real different impact than the way you guys are approaching.
Or like a gas station, which was like a proposal a while back, or, you know, people can like mow down vacant homes and put up houses, and you know, that all those things are possible, and it will raise the tax base, and some people benefit, and the neighborhood might change, but you know, does it last and for who? That's the ultimate question for me. So.
What's a conversation that Dallas isn't having, but needs to have?
I think you and I talked a little bit about this in other settings, but almost all of our public conversation about what we can embrace or endorse boils down to, will it make me rich or will it make me safe? And if it can do both, then I can get behind it. And I think that we are much less likely to find like really robust and intentional and long-term thinking that considers those to be meaningful, like security and prosperity. Like it's not bad to have those things, but if they're truly like our prime values, of how we organize our city or our collective life or whatever, then we're missing like human dignity or like the learning or like or joy, like and play, like things that are actually really core to activating a meaningful human interaction in space and the city we all really want to live in. And some of that stuff doesn't end up making you richer. And like there's a nonprofit leader who I didn't ask if I could quote her, so I'm not going to, but we were in Sunday school class together. And I don't know how this came up, but she was explaining the difference between profit and nonprofit enterprises. She's like, look, nobody's ever going to make money off of taking care of people who are really in poverty, providing housing for people who are truly, truly poor, or making sure that unhoused people get food. She's like, that's not a money-making venture. And so there has to be some sort of way to address that need. Because at the end of the day, it may not make you rich, it may not make you safer, but it may be the thing that makes you a human being, mm-hmm. And that's it's worth our investment in time figuring out how to put together in a sustainable way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hear a lot of people talk about, to really solve some of these problems, we're going to have to come up with a market-based solution, and that feels like a unrealistic expectation for a whole lot of the problems that we're trying to address. That the market was actually what created the problem.
Right. You're opening a scary door, Rob. I'm happy to go through. But yeah, I mean that's when we reduce everything to its exchange value, whether it's our children's learning or whether it's our neighbor's need for a home or our own hope for meaningful work. Like if all those things count for is whether they can be invested and whether they can create value for in some sort of growth revenue framework, then like we miss out on a lot of what makes us human. And we sort of undermine our ability to have real conversations about where our resources should go, where they could be devoted to, and what kind of riches we can really embrace and share. And unfortunately, our entire society is based on not doing that. Right. Based on not sharing.
Right.
And we have to think about the ways that we navigate those systems and those realities, knowing that that scale of values is not at the heart of it. Mm-hmm. So.
Who pushes you to be better, and how do they do it?
I mean, a little cheesy and say my wife is like, I was thinking about how, so she's taught in DSD for, I'm not going to say how many years, it's been several years, respect her privacy, but I think about her craft, like what she is a classroom teacher, like in that space, like every day, like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of students she's worked with over the years, and like these families she meets every time she does an open house and parent-teacher conference, and like how many stories she's brought home of like the ways that they're trying to navigate the world and realize a good life for their kids, and I just think about the just the craft, the skill that she's developed over the years to be that kind of person, that kind of educator, and never had any interest in like getting out of the classroom to be a principal. She's like, I don't want to do that stuff. I want to be with them. And I really, I think back, I'm like, I do send a lot of emails. I do a lot of like, I write stuff up, and I think, what's my craft? Like what am I building? What kind of community and like an experience and transformative moment am I building that has that kind of value, Yeah.
What is making you optimistic about Dallas right now?
I'm going to zag. City staff.
Wow.
I don't think. And here's why I want to say that. Like, governments are complicated.
Yep.
Regulations complicated, all that stuff. But particularly the last couple of years, like I've been, in my role in my organization, I've been responsible for spending a lot of time with city staff trying to think about whether it's zoning processes or like building permit stuff or economic development grants and processes and those kinds of things. Like just getting in the weeds with people who are their name's not on anything,
right?
They're like the third person on the email, and nobody who's got some big role or flashy title or is about to run for something or whatever. Like they're just doing the work, and no matter who is sort of in power or who is saying what about them in whatever elected office, somebody's got to make sure the water's clean,
right?
Somebody's got to make sure that like literally the lights come on, and that the city services exist, and that the resources are going to the places that are really needed, and that they can do it in a way that is legitimate and is fair and is transparent to people. And that is really hard, complicated work. And it gets everybody's like pretty mean to them, like a lot.
Absolutely. It seems like city staff has been a punching bag for a lot of people lately.
And again, like I'm not saying anybody's above reproach for whatever, but can't ever be criticized. But like, there's plenty of people to critique for things that are not as efficient as they should be, or we could spread that around if we wanted to. Like, I don't know who your cell service provider is, or your health insurance, or whatever. Like we've all got a bone to pick, but like these people are not there because they're like getting rich off of anything. Like these are like really truly civil servants, and I love going over there to the big RoboCop building and like just sort of like seeing people try to figure out how to get this done.
I love that. That's great. Let's hear it for city staff. Thanks for joining us on the Mighty Good Podcast. Hope you found some inspiration. Please like and subscribe and follow wherever you find your podcasts or videos.